Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for coming along to this session this morning. My name is Gerard Farrell, and I am a Senior Client Advisor with Global Reviews. And this morning I'm going to be talking through some recent results that we have from the motor insurance industry in Ireland. I'd like to welcome you all along and thank you for taking the time to come along to this session this morning. In this session this morning, it will be shorter than some of the other sessions that we run, and so we should be finished within a half an hour. At the end, if you have questions, we do give an opportunity for people to write in any questions that they might have, and I'll try and cover any questions that you might raise. So, as I said, what we are covering this morning is the motor insurance industry in Ireland, and specifically the program which is our Digital Sales Effectiveness Program. And these results are literally just hot off the press. They were completed towards the end of January 2015, beginning of February 2015. So there's nothing like fresh results. On screen in front of you, you can see 10 different brands. These are 10 different motor insurance providers, and these are brands that we have included in the Digital Sales Effectiveness Study into the motor insurance industry in Ireland over the last 3 waves of data that we've run for this particular program. So what I mean by that is I have data from January 2015 that I'm going to be looking at this morning. I also have some data specifically in the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program for August 2014, and then also going back to January, February 2014 as well. So part of what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be looking at the results of some of these providers from January 2015, but we are also going to be looking longitudinally at how these different providers have performed, and of course how the market itself has performed over the year, going back as far as January, February 2014 data. So that's what we're going to be covering. Just to start off and give us a broad understanding of the methodology and the proprietary thinking that we have with regards to measuring the customer experience journey, I wanted to very quickly take you through the funnel that you can see on screen in front of you at the moment. So the Global Review's customer experience funnel is an end-to-end measurement with regards to how customers interact with brands as they're trying to complete specific tasks, ultimately to get to the end of the pathway to purchase and to make a purchase of product or service with you, the brand. So the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program falls into a very specific part in this actual pathway to purchase. And so while we have the Discover phase, which covers a program that we call the Digital Marketing Effectiveness Program, and I will allude a little bit to it in the session this morning, it's really the sales effectiveness stage, which is the Consider and Act phases that I will be talking about this morning. Ultimately, the Digital Marketing Effectiveness Program at the Discover phase is about measuring how attractive you are online to customers who are looking for a proposition or product from someone like you. But we're not going to be talking about that today. What we are going to be talking about is how easy do you make it for consumers to purchase from you online. Now that they are at the doorstep of your website and they are moving through the process of trying to complete a number of tasks, how effectively do you engage customers and help them match a product or service to their needs, and then how easy is it to purchase the product or services from you? So that's what we're going to be talking about. That is the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program. Let's get straight into some results to whet the appetite. From January 2015, these are the overall scores of the brands in the January 2015 study at a very, very top level, what we call the customer experience score. I'm going to go into what makes up the customer experience score, but I thought it would be interesting to get straight into the results to have a look at the benchmark and how different providers are performing. So how does that compare with how these same providers were performing retrospectively? First of all, what's the industry average? In Ireland, the industry average is 51%. You can see the black dotted line now moving down the screen. And in comparison to the UK industry average for motor insurance, where we also run multiple programs into digital sales effectiveness for some clients over there, we are looking at a slight difference in an industry average point of view. Okay, so then how do the brands perform retrospectively? We can see then the additional slide build that has just come up for you. You can see the percentage in the previous wave of the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program. And the key message really being that AXA, the AA, and 123 have increased their scores, whereas all of the other providers have decreased their scores from August 2014 to January 2015. So where do these results come from? What is this customer experience score? Let's talk a little bit about the methodology. It's important to explain it, to explain the science, where the numbers are coming from, and I won't spend too much time on it, and if anybody needs me to go back to any of this at the end, please do just let me know. So there are 4 unique data streams that make up the Digital Sales Effectiveness Benchmark. The first one is customer behavior. And really what we're trying to find out here is, how do customers actually rate your website when we ask them to conduct or complete specific tasks? So what we're looking at is success rates, we're looking at efficiency, click-through paths, how long it takes them to complete a particular task in comparison to customers or consumers who are completing a similar task on a competing website. And then we move into the area of customer attitude, the second data stream that comes into this. And what we are asking them is, before they complete tasks, before they do things on your website, what are their levels of expectation? And then how does that match up against to having now completed the task? How easy did they find that task to complete, or various different components that would be used to measure success and what success looks like, being satisfaction or opinion. Voice of the customer is a key component as well of what we also do, and so I will be looking at some verbatims of what customers were saying when they tried to complete specific tasks. The customer audit itself then. We ask customers to rate the importance of different elements during the tasks, and this is basically to understand for them the importance of things like navigability, look and feel, and content. So as you move through that funnel that we talked about earlier on, the pathway to purchase from doorstep of website through to maybe application form at the end, different things are important at different stages on that journey. So for example, a customer comes to your website. Initial engagement. This is the first time they've been there, or maybe the first time that they have been back in a while. That initial engagement is massively important in order to get the message across about your value proposition and to explain why you are different and why they should stay looking on your site. Because anecdotal research shows that if they stay, the longer they stay on the site, the longer the propensity that they will to continue to complete a task on your site. So essentially, abandonment rate drops in line with the length of time that they actually spend on your site. So that's the third element or component of the data stream. And then the fourth one is a best practice audit, which is conducted here internally by the Global Reviews team. We have been in operation since 2000, so 15 years this year. And each year we conduct a best practice audit in each of the individual industries that we are working in. And so that is a survey where we interview between 500 and 600 in-market consumers, and we, through quantitative surveying, find out what is it that's important to them in that specific industry when it comes to buying from a provider online. That feeds into a best practice audit. Some of them are hygiene factors, and essentially it is what is best practice with regards to providing the best customer experience to a customer who is looking to buy from a product in your industry. And so this is made up of between 400 and 500 different data points, and it gives us a measurement with regards to whether certain brands are providing relevant content and tools to customers as they're trying to complete tasks in this particular industry. So these 4 different data streams make up the benchmark. Some of them are qualitative in nature, remote usability testing. Some of them are customer experience, and so qualitative with regards to voice of the customer, and then some of them are quantitative through behavioral surveys where we're asking opinions and trying to understand levels of importance. So all of these elements are brought together and combined in relation to the customer journey as they're moving through this pathway to purchase. The scores are weighted in terms of the importance of that particular part of the journey relative to the step that they've taken beforehand and the step that they're going to take next. All of these scores are rolled up together to give us a final result, and that final result is the customer experience score, and they are the results that I showed you earlier on. Ultimately, the customer experience score is a very macro score. It's an indicator at a dashboard level how your brand is tracking against other competitors in the industry, but then also how you are tracking year on year. But within this customer experience score, it's really drilling down into the key components within the actual journey, which gives us the diagnostic element with regards to how the brand is actually performing. So there are four layers, within the actual customer experience score. So we have the phase, we talked about consider and act already. Within these phases, we have the stages. So there are 6 stages in this particular industry. We're going to look at them in a moment. I already mentioned the concept of initial engagements. We also have introducing products and options, and then also we move into the understanding fees and charges. Then we have, underneath the category, we have a subcategory. Now, I'm going to go into these in detail. I'm actually going to apply learnings to these specific elements of the methodology, so it will become more apparent. So if at this point you have any questions, don't worry. We will be showing where these results are coming from and how they actually work, the components and the mechanics of the methodology. So at this level, it's really just to kind of get an idea of the robustness and the level of depth within the methodology. So these are the 4 layers, potentially, I suppose, of the onion skin, and these are how we then roll up all of these scores into the customer experience score. So moving on, these are the stages that I discussed earlier on. I mentioned the initial engagement, introducing options. I said that there were 6 stages. These are all of the 6 stages within this particular industry because we build benchmarks specific for each individual industry. And then the 2 phases, this is how these stages break out in relation to the phases. So the consider, I'm thinking about, I'm evaluating, how are you facilitating and supporting me? Acting, I am now actually looking to apply, I'm filling out forms, how are you supporting me now? How much information are you giving me before I fill out my form to help me with regards to filling out that form as I move through the website? So they are the stages, that's the overall idea. Within this consider phase and the stages within the consider phase, I wanted to give you an example of some of the categories just to flesh it out a little bit. I'm not going to go into act, I just want to give you an indication of the type of things that make up these stages. So for example, in initial engagement, we have meet expectation and build trust, assisting the need of the customer. I mentioned this concept already of building value proposition and differentiation for a customer when they come to actually meet and reach your website. And it's very important that they are coming to your website with a level of expectation, and how do you meet that expectation with regards to maybe advertising that you told them about yourself, and then if they then come to your website and find that you are very different from what you were saying about yourself in advertising, how does that affect the overall marketing strategy? So these are the different types of categories that fall into the actual stages and the subcategories as well. So let's get into the results then. And I can see that some questions have come in already. So as I said, if you don't mind, I'll get to the end and then I'll answer the questions. It's more just that I want to make sure that we cover everything. We have a half an hour and I do have a little bit to cover. So let's just make sure we get there first and then we can deal with the questions at the end. Okay, so looking at the results, the macro view. Overall, how does the Irish motor insurance industry compare in relation to the UK motor insurance industry? And let's also look at the travel insurance industry as well. So straight away, what we can see is that in general, the Irish motor insurance performs behind the UK motor insurance industry. The initial engagements stage books this particular trend, which you can see on the first element of the bar chart in front of you. But specifically looking at evaluating options, this I think is one area where Ireland can learn from the UK motor insurance industry. Other than that, within the travel insurance industry, they are another example of a place where we can learn from evaluating options and how they are presenting options to different people who are looking to purchase travel insurance. So overall, this is how the Irish motor insurance industry is performing. And that's what the slide builder has just come up on screen in front of us is telling us. So moving on. How has the industry performed within the actual studies that I have? And the people who have been recruited to complete different tasks on the brand's websites that were listed at the very beginning of this presentation. So at an industry average, from the results from January 2014, we can see the line chart in front of us is telling us that initial engagements at in and around 40% is actually quite low, and then facilitating decisions is really where the industry pain point is, followed by channel selection. If we move into August 2014, the results, then we can see that initial engagement increases and evaluating options starts to decrease, while a general trend is a decrease from evaluating options through to channel selection. And then if we look at the more recent results for 2015 in January this year, we can see that evaluating options continues to drop, and there is a gap between where evaluating options was a year ago and where we are today. Initial engagements has increased, and in some areas there has been an improvement. So what I would like to look at, first of all, from what the data is showing me, is that this evaluating options, there seems to be a gap. What is going on in the industry? How can we better meet customers' needs within this specific stage of the journey as they are moving through the pathway to purchase? It is important to note at this point, though, that evaluating options is being driven down by one provider, because if we remember, we're looking at the average, and in this particular case we have an outlier who is driving the score down. When we remove this outlier, the industry average increases to 40.7%. So the idea being that we're still a good bit below where we were a year ago. Okay, moving on. Let's look at evaluating options and what is actually driving this score. Well, first of all, what is evaluating options all about? Does the customer have the ability to compare your product or service options to best meet their needs? What tools are available on your website which assist customers in their decision making? What facilities does your site provide to customers to match your products or services to their specific needs and requirements? And with all of our stages, how do we facilitate the customer considering the stage that they are at in the pathway to purchase? So this is the hierarchical bar chart with regards to the different brands in the January 2015 study and how they are performing. Now you will see that some of the brands are actually indicated in red. And why is that? When I look at the percentage difference from August 2014 through to January 2015, the red indicates where there has been a percentage difference drop or a negative drop from one phase or one wave of the results to the more recent wave of the results. So Aviva in top place, but they have seen a drop, whereas AXA have seen a percentage increase. There are two really big numbers that are jumping out then as well. You can see on top of the AXA number and the number that they are increasing, we can see the FBD has also reduced a lot as well. But I would like to focus specifically on two brands here. I would like to look at AXA and I would like to look at 123.ie, because AXA have a good increase score and then 123.ie has a reduction from one wave to the other. But the key element here is that there is actually only 2 percentage points between the two of them. So let's have a look at some of these results. So within the evaluating options stage, there are two categories that make up evaluating options. We have matching products to needs, and then we have comparing product options. The line on the right-hand side shows the scores for AXA, the scores for 123, and the industry average. So looking firstly at matching products to needs, we can see AXA is coming in at 39%, and we can see that 123 is coming in at 31%. But there is a general bunching here with regards to how different performers are doing in this particular stage. So what makes up matching products to needs? We ask customers on each individual website to complete tasks. So just to talk a little bit more about the methodology and one of the key elements, we recruit in-market consumers using partnerships that we have with international panel providers, we recruit in-market consumers who are looking to purchase the specific product or service in the industry that we are conducting the research in the next 90 days. So this is a very specific sample. They are active in-market consumers, and so we are removing an awful lot of the noise that you might get with an omnibus sample. We recruit consumers. At the very beginning, we ask them a number of questions with regards to the industry overall and what are the key drivers when it comes to choosing one provider over another, and I will go into some of these results later. But we then split the sample up randomly and we send them to individual brand websites. And so one customer will only ever go to one brand website, and we ask them to go through the process of purchasing something from this particular brand. We set them a number of tasks as they move through that website, and then they come back and they report on how they got on. So one customer will only ever go to one website. They do not go to other websites, so the benchmarking does not work on that basis, which is a key component. So we, at this particular stage, set a task for consumers, which is regarding matching products to needs. And so on screen in front of you, you can see the results for 123 against AXA when it comes to completing the task at this particular stage, and the success that they achieved when it came to matching products to their specific needs. Now, the task itself is generally something that they would be looking for as they're moving through the website, and so in this particular case it is something regarding obviously motor insurance, breakdown assistance, or a particular piece of information when it comes to different details with regards to a motor insurance policy. So we can see straight away that one of the things which is driving the score for matching products and needs between 123.ie and AXA is this success rate with regards to customers being able to complete the task. When we asked them after completing the task, how did you get on, we can see that 33% of those who visited the 123 site said that they didn't encounter any problems, whereas 40% of those who visited the AXA site said that they didn't encounter any problems. The problems that those who visited the 123 site did encounter was that they were finding where to start was not easy, the information was wasn't where they expected it to be, and the difference between the cover was difficult to determine. So I want to drill down a little bit more with regards to what is actually driving this score. But before I do that, the two components that I mentioned for the evaluating options are matching products to needs and comparing product options. I mentioned at the very beginning of the study, we ask all of the people who are completing the study to answer questions with regards to drivers and key triggers and things that are important to them when it comes to actually looking for a product within this particular industry. The sample size is in and around 300 to 400, dependent on the number of brands that are in the study and the number of people who are being interviewed. So the particular question for the results that I'm going to show you now is, please rate how important the following elements would be on a website when deciding new car insurance with an insurance provider. There are a lot of options on the screen in front of you, and so I'll take just a second to go through them, but then I want to pull out some key figures. So it's a 10-point scale question, and I'm pulling it out by mean scores. Straight away we can see that the mean scores for the first 8 in front of you, which are ranked in order of importance, are very, very high. So they're demanding information that is easy to understand, detailed and complete information, a website that is easy to navigate, ability to receive a personalized quote, easily view features and benefits of insurance options, easy to find contact details, ability to compare insurance options, and ability to apply online. Now, if you remember, we're talking about evaluating options here, so ability to receive a personalized quote is coming out as very, very high, and ability to compare insurance options is coming out as very high as well. So within this particular stage, this is how important this is overall to customers. There were 16 options within the actual question, so looking at some of the other options, ability to save a quote for later, ability to compare insurance options offered by other providers, online tools that assist me to understand what cover is right. Looking at these last two that I just mentioned, these again fall into the evaluating options, and again we're up at around 8.2 to 8.5 in terms of mean scores, which is quite high. So that's what's driving customers with regards to this particular stage. Why are AXA? What are AXA doing which is really, really working? And then let's have a look at the 123 site. So 60% of AXA visitors find the information successfully, and means that they are leading the industry in this particular stage. Things that they are doing: features covered in comprehensive and third party are clearly listed. There's a clear indication of what is covered in comprehensive cover only. And then just to pull out a particular insight with regards to the results that I've showed in the previous 2 slides, it's evident that customers need to be able to view all policies and their benefits in one place in order to easily find a product best suited to their needs. So looking at the 123 site, and as consumers moved through the behavioral task, I want to show you a click stream in a minute, but let's illustrate it first. Customers mostly started, about 50% clicked on the Get Quote button, and then a significant proportion went over towards the actual menu bar at the top. Those who clicked on the Get Quote button were brought to the quote page. Those who went through this process, most of them did not actually successfully complete the task. Those that did successfully complete the task went down through the breakdown discovery page, or went down through the offer page. But what I would really like to highlight is this landing page with regards to when the consumers started the task and they came to the actual website. And this is something we're seeing more and more with regards to how websites and UX are currently being delivered in the industry. Large, impressive photographs in the background, and one key click call to action and funnel with regards to a signpost. And so ultimately, that is the way that the 123 website is set up at the moment. What does that actually mean when it comes to customers completing different types of tasks? On screen in front of us, we can see the click stream with regards to as customers were trying to complete the task of 123.ie, and we can see that it's very, very long. And so this is part of the reason why a large proportion, or the majority of people, were not able to complete the task of 123.ie. And let's have a look at some of the diagnostics with regards to the specific task. The time to task completion was higher for 123 than the top performer, and the unique page views was higher. Let's have a quick look at some of the verbatims. I could not find a breakdown assistance link. Too many things to fill in to find a quote. I thought I pressed the appropriate buttons, but I got nowhere apart from windscreen breakage. I could not find a point where the different policy types were listed. I could only see options for specific policy types. I tried going through the heading for breakdown assistance, but got nowhere, and I found it very confusing. To give you a very quick example of an example from the UK where they're doing well with regards to the signposting, and really getting to this idea of, if we put one funnel option and signpost at the front of the website, that is where we are driving customers. But are we confident that we totally understand customers' needs and the different reasons why they're actually coming to a website? So this is what Direct Line are doing with regards to their actual signposting and moving into different types of insurance policies. They're using lexical along with illustrative means of communication. There's clear signposting with funnel process to insurance types, and the Get a Quote is over on the left-hand side. So there are multiple options, there's multiple signposts, and then there's a clean, clear design page. So just be careful with regards to the use of photography and images to present different types of websites to customers from a UX point of view, I suppose, is the key message. Now, I need to move a little bit faster because I still have a bit more to get through, and I can see we're coming up to 11 o'clock. So if you don't mind bearing with me, I'm going to probably fly through the next couple of slides. So comparing product options, we can see that 123 is ahead here, ahead of AXA, and the industry average is behind. So again, we had some scores which are driving down the industry average, which were in the area of the FBD and AIG Direct. But looking at AXA specifically, and what is it that's driving down their score here in comparison to 123. And so the evaluation of comparison, where we ask people to tell us, you know, how did you get on in terms of comparison, we can see that they were in and around comparative and the scores were nearly equal. But ease of comparison and interactive comparison functions is one of the things which was audited with regards to this website, which is built on our best practice audit. So on the AXA website, when customers go there, what are they finding? So there's no ability to compare all cover options in a single location. There's potential missed opportunity as people move to a funnel page like this to then bring them through to a quote page. There's no ability to print or email or share digitally. Now, why is this important? The Digital Marketing Effectiveness Program, which is a completely different program, we ran a study in UK motor insurance industry recently with 200 in-market consumers again, and we looked at basically how they research different types of products as they move to look to buy motor insurance. Now, we did this passively. We recorded what they did as they were moving through the internet. And so we found that 68% of them were using an aggregator to complete a research task when it came to buying or looking for a motor insurance provider. Why is that important? So the concept of comparison. We asked them, why did you use an aggregator? So we're looking at a sample size of 160, and we can see here that the reasons why they're saying that they're using an aggregator is because they want to see a range of policies by different companies. The point that I'm trying to raise here is that if we don't offer the ability to compare internally, I'm not even talking about external at this stage, there's a good possibility that they're going to abandon, because the majority of customers are actually looking for this anyway, and the ability exists on the internet for them to do this. So we really do need to consider what is our strategy from an internal product comparison point of view and also an external product comparison point of view. So moving on from that, just to give you a couple of examples from the energy market, we can see Origin here, how their quotation tool is working at the top and how they're pulling out different types of options or presenting different types of products to a person on one page without them having to go too far, so that it's drip feeding or breadcrumbing different types of solutions, and it brings them further down the funnel. And then to give the price guide example, this is how they're doing it again in Origin, and all of the different types of things together, what you'll get out of it, and basically a button then, funnel click to action button, which will bring them through to the next stage. Okay, so that's the evaluate an option section. Now moving in, and this is the much shorter section, and I should have this done in about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. So looking at the top and bottom performance specifically from the results in 2015, we can see that AXA performed very, very well in 3 of the stages in terms of the industry. And then we can see that Aviva are coming in and evaluating options, Allianz at facilitating decisions, and AIG are coming in at channel selection. The bottom performers within the industry, we can see the FBD coming in at introducing options and on the application form, Liberty Insurance coming in for initial engagement, and then it's AIG and Aviva in and around this area of evaluating options and facilitating decisions. And so this is where we can see that there's a big gap in the industry between the top performer and the bottom performer. We've already looked at evaluating options, so I quickly want to look at the concept of facilitating decisions. So facilitating decisions are customers given adequate contact information and tools, which keeps you top of mind when the customer leaves your site. How easy is it for customers to get answers to questions with tools such as online chat or click to call? And do you convey why a customer should purchase a product or service from you? So how are the different providers performing in the market? Here is a hierarchy of bar chart, and then again using the red to indicate the percentage difference from August 2014 through to January 2015, and Allianz, AIG and Aviva have dropped. So I'm going to look specifically at AXA, and I'm going to look at Aviva.ie and the reasons why there is a difference in scores. So we can see at an external comparison, AXA coming in at 33 and Aviva coming in at 17, but we have a really big gap here in the contacting the company area, and so this is really where I want to focus. What is it that AXA are doing? What is it that Aviva are not doing? Within this category, the subcategory is enabling general questions and enabling immediate answers, and we can see that Aviva are not achieving any score for enabling immediate answers, and there's a low score for enabling general questions. So what is it then that's driving Aviva's score? Before we go on to look at the Aviva website, I just wanted to show you, this is across the total sample of people who completed the research with us. If they encountered a problem, what would they do? 22% would look for a telephone number, 19% frequently asked questions, 18% online chat, 16% would leave the website, 16% call me back option. So this is what they want. This is what they're telling us that they would do if they encountered a problem. What is currently offered on the Aviva.ie website. There's no clearly zoned area to contact the company with further questions. This is on the product detail page. There's no phone number displayed on the product detail page. You cannot ask the company any questions within one click from this page. There is no call me back service. There's no online chat facility. There is no why choose us information. And there are no third-party testimonials, recommendations, or indication of commitment to service. So these are the kind of things that we would be measuring the company on with regards to the audit criteria at this particular phase, which is the facilitating decisions. So I've come to the end of the results. I've got 3 recommendations to take away, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly look at the questions. So let's look at the recommendations first. So the first one is consider the role of multiple signposting and how this affects funnel pages and discovery pages. Specifically, I'm talking about the use of large images and one button, which from a funnel page point of view, if you have a clear strategy and there's a very specific reason for doing it, and it's not just look and feel, then that's great, but just really do consider how different customers will be coming to your website and how long it's going to make that click path and the click stream in terms of achieving their goals. What is your customer support strategy, and is it resourced? So this is the idea of you may not want customers to be able to call you. You may want to move away from this concept of providing telephone numbers, and that is fine, but you need to make sure that you have some other level of support, that customers at least get the perception that there is support there for them should they require it. And then finally, customers are saying that they wanted personalized quotes that present all of the information, are easy to navigate and to understand. So getting back to the point above it, customers like choice, this concept of decision theory and discrete choice theory in the area of they don't want too many choices because that paralyzes them, but no choice at all, then removes the possibility of that they're in control and that they can actually compare or make a decision themselves. So yes, UX is about making it seamless and easier for the customer to complete their tasks, but at the same time, the customer still wants power and control. So they're the 3 key things that, to take away and to consider. I'm now going to just go offline for 30 seconds because I have a couple of questions that have come in. If you want to bear with me, I promise I will only be 30 seconds, and then I'll come back with answers to those questions and we'll wrap up. Okay, so I have 2 questions to cover. The first one, is the presentation going to be available after the session? Absolutely, the presentation is going to be available. A recording of the presentation will be available as well, and the commercial directors will be in touch with regards to further information, and we also write white papers and blogs into the specific industry, and so there will be lots of information available from that point of view. And then there was another question that came in, which was, who are the research participants? I mentioned already, so they are in market looking to purchase motor insurance, and that's switch or new, so we can identify whether they're new entrants to the market or whether they are switchers, and they're looking to do that within the next 90 days. So they are qualified as in market, which is obviously very important. So my name, as I said, is Jared Farrell. I'm a Senior Client Advisor at Global Reviews. I'm going to show you my contact details on the next slide. For this particular industry, I've only really shown you a high-level glimpse of the results that we have from a recent study, and then also some longitudinal stuff. There's lots that we offer within this industry. There's the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program, is run biannually every 6 months. So we have July and January, July 2015, and then we have January 2016. And we also have a Digital Marketing Effectiveness Program, which runs monthly. There are lots of various elements that are included within the Insight Optimization Program with Global Reviews, and so we work with our clients with regards to helping them improve their customer experience scores. So, as I mentioned, my name is Jared Farrell. My contact details are on screen. I haven't really gone too much into who Global Reviews are. I think it's important to say that annually we place brands in the homes of 50,000 in-market consumers in the UK. We work in a number of specific niche industries, including banking, insurance, energy, sports betting, and as I mentioned, we work specifically in the area of in-market consumers. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. There will be a recording available, and also the presentation slides will be available as well. Thank you very much for coming along this morning, and apologies we ran a little bit over, and if you have any questions, please do get in touch.